So we'll kind of give them some patience as they come along. So in the meantime, I'm just going to kill some time up here. Let me just say again how grateful I am that all of y'all are here today. We at the NFA cannot do anything that we do without your participation, because that's why we do what we do, is to make these times and these spaces for y'all to learn, to have access to resources, and to connect with each other, because this is what the NFA is about. We would also like to remind you all that we can't do any of this without our education sponsors, including Belmont and the Oak School of Design at Belmont and E3 Sustainable Design, or Sustainable Cotton. They make it possible for us to do great things like this for free for our members, which is always
awesome. Free is good.
Free is good. Give me free.
There's still value behind free stuff.
This is a whole concept that I'm learning a lot about. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of impact there.
You don't have to pay to get good stuff.
You don't. Sometimes you do have to read through.
Sure.
But
oh yeah, that's true.
That's a completely different class, Paul. We'll do that later.
Yep. Sounds good.
Other fun things and wonderful news. We've got a lot going on at the NFA right now. I don't know whether all of y'all are on our newsletter list, but all of our members should have received a link to our 2018 member survey, and we would love to hear from you. What is working, what you want to see more of, how you feel the NFA impacts your life, and help us be a better resource for you. It takes about 5 minutes to do that, so I want to hear from you. And it's a big time. Summer's crazy. I'm so grateful that y'all took time out of your crazy summer lives to be here. I know we would all much rather be on the back porch with a glass of wine. But without further ado, Paul.
Thanks, Callahan. My name is Paul Hickey. I'm really excited to be here today, and I really appreciate all of your time, like Callahan said. I know that time is like our most valuable asset, so I really appreciate you guys coming out. And so I run a company called Data Driven Design, and we're focused around using any kind of data just to drive decisions for digital strategy. And I typically just define digital strategy as how to grow your business. So that's on your website, your digital presence, your social media, whether you're running any kind of digital ads, even any kind of more traditional marketing or traditional advertising, it can all be tracked online. And so my sort of platform really is this data over opinions, because opinions can be good, but they can also be like a total progress killer, and they can be based on a lot of excuses, whereas data can be very empowering as it relates to like what's an actual action item we should take to try to grow our business. And so what I hope to bring today is just some insights around how you guys can prepare for what we're saying is the fall e-commerce season. And really, I like this concept. And I want to say thank you to Van and Callahan, two of the coolest women I know, by the way. Thank you so much for having me here. We're an NFA member as well. So Data Driven Design, super proud to be a member of the Nashville Fashion Alliance. And so what we kind of conceived was coming out and just helping prepare. So whether it's prepare for the fall or whether it's prepare for 2019 or whatever it is, in my mind, there are tactical, it can be very overwhelming with all the different digital possibilities out there and all the different social media outlets and digital channels to get your message out and then drive conversions for your brand online, or even in a retail location, online, offline. And so what I hope to bring are just kind of tactics that you can use to prepare, not just for the fall, but for any time in the future. But before I get started, I love to just kind of go around the room and have if it's okay, have everybody say as much or as little as you want about yourself, introduce yourself, talk about your business at all, just so that I think it's good to meet each other, get some context. I think I know Julie, right, in the back. Yeah, we've known each other for a while, so I'm not sure that I've met anyone else other than Julie. So if you want to start over here, just kind of introduce yourself, your business, that'd be great.
I'm Phil Kirk. I'm an attorney here in Nashville, but I also have a company called Most Interesting Look. And we have a new product. It's a cosmetic product for men. We also sell a small line of men's accessories like cufflinks and things like that. And I'm here because I know nothing about social media. Got to start doing it. Just got on Amazon. We have our own website also, so don't know much about it. That's why I'm here to learn.
Awesome, thank you. You want to stay up in the front row here?
Yeah, stand up.
No, I was say we'll stay up in the front row and then we'll do the back.
My name is TJ. I run a leather care company. It was started by my grandfather back in 1976, and when he died, I bought it for my grandmother, and it's his recipe that we follow. And about a month ago, I went full time on it, so just trying to grow the company.
Cool, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm Christina. I own Christina Cobra Designs. It's a local jewelry company. We hand make everything here in Nashville. I've been in business for 11 years and just trying to understand how things are changing from doing like art festivals and meeting people in person, and now it's a lot of online that I don't know how to do. So
Great, okay.
I'm with her. I'm helping her with like the marketing. I'm a marketing assistant, so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, trying to tackle it together. So
Okay.
I'm Emily, by the way.
Cool, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Meredith Mathis. I'm a fashion stylist here in Nashville and just really trying to grow my presence on social media and business in general.
Awesome, cool.
My name's Anna. I have a hat company in town, and I also work at an art gallery. So I feel like Instagram's a big driver of traffic for both of those, and figuring out how to sell through that, and then also get people to turn up at events is important to me.
Awesome, okay, great.
Fanny and Jan.
Thanks, my favorite. My name is Blake Riley, and I have a jewelry business, Portmanteau Jewelry, and I hand make everything. And I'm just, I don't think I, utilize digital assets the best I could, and I kind of want to grow but be lean. It's a real tool.
Okay, awesome, cool.
I'm Nina Thomas. I'm the business manager for Elisa Greenberg Jewelry, and she's been in business probably about 12 years. I've been working with her for the last year to kind of amp up her game and Instagram, but again, I'm at that place where she does have a website, but we don't populate it or keep it active, and she just really sustains herself with private appointments and then pop-up shops and trunk shows. So that's where I'm coming from.
Cool, that's great.
I'm Julie Dyer. By day I'm a merchandiser, and then side gig is helping to start Nashville Design Week here in town, and our marketing director couldn't come today, so I offered to come to try to learn more about Google Analytics.
Awesome, thank you for coming, appreciate it.
I'm Lori Dodd, and I'm an organization development consultant. I've been working with the Nashville Fashion Alliance for the last 2 years, and I'm now sitting on the board. So I occasionally meet with members who are looking to grow their business, and I just want to be a little more literate in some of the techniques. So I'm just here to absorb it.
Awesome, thank you. Well, thanks again, everybody. And so actually a couple more things I'll say before we get started. I think I'm a super geek, okay? So my team will tell you that I'm at this other level, and Callahan's been to the Data Driven Academy. I'm at this level where I love all of this stuff so much that I have a tendency to sometimes go super fast at what all the data means and all the different strategies and tactics and things that you can do in Instagram, in Facebook Ads Manager, in Google Analytics and all that. But I really think what it boils down to is kind of like what you said with, going to the art fairs and like doing the kinds of marketing that you've always done that have always worked for you, and then just using these digital channels to tell your story. And then so I think I've arranged this workshop today to just kind of focus on a few things, a few main takeaways that I think all of you need to be aware of based on the data. So I'm gonna skip a lot of the geeky stuff, and I'm gonna try to keep it very human to human level. But if you have any questions on anything deeper than what I'm talking about, we'll leave some time for Q&A. And then because I know pretty much everybody is pretty humble when it comes to, like, I mean, everyone that says a lot of the stuff that you guys have said, like, actually knows a lot more than they think they know. And once you lift this stuff once you lift the hood and look under the hood on this stuff, you actually see that it's a lot of DIY, you know, things that can be implemented pretty easily. It's not rocket science. So I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I've just taken the time to learn it. And to that end, actually, there is an extension of a lot of these talks that I do online. So we've done data-driven academy classes where they're like 2 to 3 hour sessions where we dive deeper into one of the buckets. So like one of the buckets, obviously, that I'll talk about, you'll see stuff on Facebook ads, you'll see stuff on Google Analytics in here. And so I'll teach classes on those things specifically, but I've just started to put them online recently. So hopefully we'll get you guys some information on how to sign up for that if you're interested. And we try to put it at a price point where it makes sense for any team to sign up and just learn how to implement it themselves. So it might be interns that can learn it. It might be you all kind of running the organizations that have time to learn it for a few hours every week. And then I think the value proposition there is you don't have to pay an agency thousands of dollars a month to actually manage the services for you. You can use your money paying the digital media outlet. So you can pay Instagram, you can pay Facebook, you can pay Google for the visibility once you learn how to use the tools. So that's what I'm all about. So anyway, what I want to cover today is first this data overview, and I'm going to talk about web design. And so when I talk about web design, I'm also referring to like basically anything with your digital presence. So your website, it could be multiple websites that you have, it could be mobile apps, different landing pages that you host in different places, but essentially like your digital home, where you're sending your customers to find more information about you, and the data that we have that will inform the most optimized web presence. And I'll dig into that later. And then digital marketing, the same thing. So when I say digital marketing, basically I'm referring to like any way that any of your customers would find you online outside of your home and then come to your home. The data around what works best for that. And fashion specific, I'm bringing some data that's global, but also fashion industry specific. And I'll explain where I get all of that data from. So then the second part is more tactical Facebook ads, Instagram ad strategy, which I also call net new customer acquisition. So really what it is just helping get new customers. All of these different channels, whether it's an app that people use all the time or whether it's within search, it's just a way of getting new customers. And then obviously tracking the effectiveness of that. So that's where we'll talk about, that's the purpose behind Google Analytics really, is to understand what's working and what's not working out of all the different efforts. And that's where you can get super efficient. You can drill down on, okay, I've spent X amount of hours in the last month or quarter doing these things. I've also spent X amount of dollars. And so what is that actually resulting in for my business? And don't feel overwhelmed because a shocking amount of businesses never do that. Like even the ones that you think like mid-size level to enterprise level companies, like they're not even really doing it that well. And so that's where our team tries to come in and help with that. So these stats that I'm about to walk you guys through, the punchline is basically like what you should do on your website to make it more optimized for when people find you and then come to your home, your website. And the reason why I want to hit on this is because I think a lot of times we all are guilty of like blaming a marketing channel or a marketing tactic for not working, like for not driving conversions. In other words, I ran a Google AdWords campaign or I had like $100 credit to Google AdWords and I didn't get any sales off of that, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Or yeah, I tried a Facebook ad. I put like $500 behind it or $250 behind it. It got me nothing. I'm not going to do that again, et cetera, et cetera. But really, where were you sending the person that clicked on the ad? Or were you even sending them anywhere? And so we have a tendency to blame the marketing channel and then kind of like sweep it under the rug because it's not super familiar to us. It's not what we do all the time. But really, 50% or more of that equation is on the home. It's on how optimized is the website that you're sending the person to. So that's why I want to start with this, because we aggregate data from, like, we're fortunate enough to be these geeks that build all these websites for clients or are asked, hey, could you look at our data? And so as a result of that, we have access to more than 325 Google Analytics accounts. And then you can imagine, we're not vertical specific. So we have professional service-based companies like accounting firms, law firms. We have e-commerce companies that sell anything that you can imagine in these different verticals. And then we also have like entertainment companies, we have membership sites, and on and on. We have retail clients, we have fashion clients. So we're fortunate enough to basically be able to look at all the data. So what works, what does an optimized website look like overall? And then what are the trends on a vertical specific? So what are the trends that work in fashion or e-commerce or professional services? So I'll kind of define some of this stuff. Up here you're seeing the average stats for how many people view websites on a desktop device and how many people view on a mobile device, and then what the average percentage is of how many people view the home page versus all the other pages on a site. So the reason I think this data is important is because there's obviously a lot of headlines about how things are moving to mobile, things like that. But overall, things are definitely trending towards mobile, but overall you can see desktop's still very important. So how people view on the laptops that you guys all have here, still 61%. And then how important is your home page? It's definitely far and away, like when you break down 34.5%, everything else is less than like 8% when you look at Google Analytics accounts for the most part in terms of an interior page on a website. The average number of main navigation items, I think sometimes we're all guilty, all businesses are guilty of kind of becoming bulletin boards for everything happening in their organization. Oh, this is important, we got to put it up in our main navigation or our main menu. But the average number of main navigation items is, this is kind of an important statistic because the average number is almost 6. And you'll see what's kind of the optimal number in one of the future slides. Year over year, mobile trending is almost 20%. So that's where I was talking about, like, mobile is important. Year over year, everyone's trending about 20% towards mobile. And then the average number of websites with that auto slider on the home page, if you guys know what I mean by that, it's like it slides without the user even doing anything, is still about 41% of websites. So we're gonna get into more of the fashion vertical. I have some definitions here. This is gonna be available on a landing page on our website that Callahan will help me email out to all you guys. We'll get you a URL so you can download this. Feel free to take notes, but you can download this deck for sure online. So just a couple things here. On the note about the average homepage traffic share, the homepage is important, but it is it's still making up primarily the main amount of traffic, but it shouldn't be your only page on your website, because users do want to drill down and see interior pages, is basically some underlying meaning behind this statistic. So if you're thinking that like a 1-page long scroll is going to be your optimal user experience, it's actually that the data shows that the users do want to drill down and see interior pages. So that's kind of an action. I like to give like a tangible action item off of each one of these statistics. So the one out of in terms of the average number of main navigation items, the ones that had 4 or less navigation items actually do far better in terms of engaging the audience. So it is kind of a less is more, prioritize your content approach if you can. And then remember that there are always different ways of designing your website to have like utility navigation. So it's not to say that you can't still have like a utility navigation that's smaller, maybe above or below the main navigation. But the data is showing that if you can consolidate it to 4 is kind of the optimal number in your main navigation, and then have utility navs in the footer or above that are smaller, users will find that information. So this is kind of like if we were to take all of the data from the 325 plus things that I and my team looked at, you start to kind of see an optimal homepage that starts to look like this, where you have your logo placement on the left, you have a tall hero image with a static image that's not an auto slider, and I'll drill down into that in a little bit. But then exactly 4 main navigation items that I talked about. And then you want things like your social media icons in the footer. So we do all kinds of A/B testing and heat mapping, which I'll talk about later, where the data basically shows that when you take unnecessary distracting elements away from the user and you put them in more of a utility spot where users will find them, like social media icons, that's far and away the #1 thing. It just lowers what's called the bounce rate. And so the bounce rate, you want a low bounce rate because it's basically your engagement rate flipped upside down. So a low bounce rate means high engagement. A bounce means a user basically loads a page on your website and then immediately leaves without interacting with the page at all. And then on the mobile side of things, there's some takeaways here too. So things like what we call a hamburger nav, which is like these 3 lines that look like a hamburger on the right or left with the phone number across from it. And then that's my cell phone number that I put on there. The logo centered, and then some main content buckets that are just very simple stacked on top of one another. So it's a matter of allowing a designer to then kind of interpret this type of structure to bring your brand to life, but having this type of structure or layout behind your design. So that's kind of the high level statistics as it relates to some web data. I didn't want to go too deep into that. And then this is where I'm talking about you can't just blame the marketing channel. You got to do some things on your website first before you, it's not that you can't be running campaigns, because running campaigns is going to be fine. You're going to get some anecdotal feedback from your audiences, and you're going to get some real data from running campaigns. But if you can think about, my stuff's really not going to be optimized until I do this on my website. And so one thing is reading heat maps. So there's this, and again, like, there's more kinds of extensions to this where everybody has my information from this event, and we'll provide more free stuff to you, and then there's opportunities online with what I talked about to actually learn how to implement this. But there's tools out there. One is called Crazy Egg. Another is called Hotjar. These are tools that are maybe $10 to $15 a month that'll allow you to just place a snippet of code on your website, and then it'll allow you to take a snapshot of what users are actually doing on your page. So just a real simple example is like taking a site that has an email pop-up, or like what I call a pop-up or a modal window, and you guys have probably all experienced this as web users, where you'll go to a website and before you really even start to navigate around, you have kind of a message coming at you in a window, and sometimes it's opting in for email notifications, sometimes it's wanting you to click to get a particular offer that might be deeper into the site. And so I can't make a blanket statement about whether or not these work, but what I can do is say, if you put this heat mapping code on your website, you can see what users are doing. And so you can see if they're filling out the information, and if you're getting those form submissions, then that's a pretty good indicator, obviously, that it might be working for you. But if you don't do something like this, you really don't know how it could be affecting your bounce rate. So what you see in this heat map is basically data that's proving that users just don't want to see this. They don't want to see it on the pages that it's on, and they don't want to see it the way that it's being displayed to them. So in this particular case, we were able to use this data to inform a client of ours to go ahead and remove this from the pages that had this data on it. In their case, it was on several of their top pages. And when we did that, we were able to help them lower the bounce rate. And so I know that that's kind of a geeky thing to say, but if you think about it in terms of like sales terms, bringing in revenue for your company, you're not going to get the revenue if the user's leaving right away. But if you can lower the bounce rate, I'll just kind of back up for a second. If you decide you want to pay Facebook $1,000 over the next few months to run Facebook ads, and 90% of them are bouncing because of something like this, then you're wasting your money. But if you can optimize something like this first or along the way, and you lower that bounce rate from 90 down to say 50 or even 30, now you're optimizing the amount of conversions that you could be having on your website from the top of your funnel, and you don't have to spend as much money. Otherwise, if only 10% of your users are engaging, you're gonna have to spend a lot more money to get the numbers that you want. So that's why reading heat maps, it can be something as simple as this that you would get out of a heat map. And so heat maps will also have click maps, so you can see exactly what referral sources the clicks are coming from. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see mobile, Facebook, Instagram, Bing, some blogs, some names of blogs that have linked to them. So that's pretty interesting. And then again, same thing happening on the second and third most visited pages. So you look at like that 34% that I said was the home page in general, and you start to drill down into, okay, your second most visited page is going to be around 15% of your web traffic. Your third most visited page is going to be around 8 to 10% of your web traffic. Well, now you're looking at pretty much a majority of all of your web traffic. And if you can put these heat map snapshot capabilities on your top, say, 5 to 10 most trafficked pages on your website, now you're doing things to optimize all of them. Another thing is A/B testing. So what we're doing here is just kind of some snapshots of the old site that I wanted to show you guys, where the point that I want to make is it's this auto slider that I talked about. So what we wouldn't want to do is we wouldn't want to say, oh, well, Paul said auto sliders don't work. Well, okay. What we say is if you have an auto slider, there's a good chance that it's increasing your bounce rate because it kind of interrupts the user experience. What we want to do is we want to A/B test an auto slider versus a page that just has something different on it than an auto slider. So how do we get to that? So here's a page with an auto slider on it, and then below the fold, so you can see, I split this up into 2 screenshots, but we've got the bottom of this auto slider that was on the previous screen. And then below the fold, you can see, like, so if you can imagine you're scrolling on this website, it's like one scroll. Like one scroll and you've seen the entire homepage. So that's another thing we start to analyze. Is a user going to engage further with the website if there's more than one scroll? So let's dig into this a little bit. So in this vertical, let's analyze some competitors. So our process is we go through and we look at some competitive analytics. So I'm saving you like probably 73 slides of where we did all this competitive analytics and everything. Another tool, so this tool, a few that I threw out earlier for the heat mapping, Crazy Egg, Hotjar. This one's called SimilarWeb, and you can actually go to similarweb.com. We have the paid subscription, but you can get some of this data just with the free SimilarWeb version. So if you think of like, who are my top 5 aspirational websites, they don't have to be your direct competitors, but they can be like, you know, businesses that you aspire to be like that maybe do something similar to what you do. Go to similarweb.com, type in their URL, and see if they'll give you their bounce rate. And so they'll give you the metrics here that you want to look at are bounce rate, pages per visit, and that's pretty self-explanatory. So the higher the pages per visit, the better, especially for an e-commerce site. I don't know how many of you have sites that you can actually buy that the user can check out online, but my assumption is that either you do or you will in the future. So if you have an e-commerce site, you know, 7.23 pages per visit means that people are shopping, it means that they're adding items to the cart and they're checking out. And then the average visit duration. So long story short, this particular website had the best engagement statistics overall. So that's what we decided to test, the variant for the client I was showing you earlier we decided to build a variant that looked like this for them to test their original versus this. So this is kind of what this looked like. So you can see this big, if we just kind of toggle back and forth, so there's this huge, what we call hero image. And it's like you have to scroll once just to get through the whole, whereas the previous homepage, you scrolled once and you saw the whole thing. This is like you scroll once and you're still like on the image. And then you keep scrolling, now you see some of their product, large product imagery underneath that. And so, and then their navigations over here on the left, we kind of left that alone. We left the navigation alone. We decided you really just want to kind of test one thing ideally. So we tested like this design for our client, which is much more like the, for this layout. Our client chose all the photos and everything like that, and took some things out of the main navigation that I think helped. But primarily the A/B test was we're going to run 50% to the 50% of traffic coming in to the original, and then the other 50% to the variant that looked like the competitor that had the best engagement statistics based on the data. So it seems like a lot, but really it's like pretty simple process to go through, even on your own, and like say, okay, similar web, check my competitors, Hotjar, Crazy Egg, do some heat mapping, see if there's elements that we should take away based on the heat mapping, and then doing an A/B test. You can do that in Google Analytics for free. There's A/B testing tools you can pay for, but you can do A/B tests in Google Analytics for free. So then some of the data around the test is that the variant, so I mean, we could have stopped and we could have been like, all right, we all know this is gonna work. But I mean, we don't know. Like that's the data over opinions thing. We think, the opinion is that we think this is gonna work. Let's just jump in and move our homepage to it. But we really wanna actually do the experiment so that we can see, does the data actually say it's gonna work? And then if it does, what types of improvements can we expect from our conversions? Because then we can know how to budget out our marketing dollars properly. Because if you just made the assumption this is gonna work, you might be thinking, oh, I'm gonna increase conversions 90%, so let's spend a bunch of money on marketing. But here we can see we improved the bounce rate by 8%, which is great. We increased the time on site by a minute, more than a minute. We improved the pages per session by almost one full page. And this is the variant winning out. And then we increased the e-commerce conversion rate by 38%. This is just with that change to the homepage in a 1 month period of time. So.
If you, I mean, I'm not sure what kind of volume is going to be there, but if you don't have a high volume site, how long do you usually do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you don't have a lot of web traffic, which honestly most businesses don't have this organic influx of traffic, I'd give it about a month. I'd do the A/B test for a month, and then regardless of how much web traffic that'll get you what you need to make a decision. And if there's no clear winner, which sometimes there's not, then I would just recommend doing another experiment, because there's no downside in continuing to kind of split test your traffic and see if you can find something that's going to work. For the most part, though, you'll have a winner after a month. And sometimes, I mean, and one thing that we've done for ourselves and for a lot of our clients is actually run a campaign to drive more traffic than normal with no expectations of conversions, but just expectations of getting better data based on more traffic. Yeah. So that's highly recommended too. So back to kind of some of now I'm kind of bouncing back to some of the data from I call this the data download. It's on our website. You can there's like 50 pages of this, but I just pulled out a few of the slides. How people find non-e-commerce websites is different than how people find e-commerce websites, and I thought this would be a good talking point for today. The main difference is through organic search. So to break this down, if you're a professional services firm of some kind, SEO, and what I mean by SEO is like people finding you by making searches for your services on the Google search engine specifically is going to be much more of a driver of traffic. It's going to be a 12% more driver of traffic than if you're an e-commerce website. If you're an e-commerce website, your main differential is social media is your main differential. That's how people are finding and wanting to find e-commerce websites, is through social media content, both organic and paid, because they kind of go hand in hand. Because as you guys know, you can post an organic piece of content on a platform and then you can boost it after it's organic, or you can run an ad. And if we have time, I'll break down some of the differences there. And then the other main differential, not as big as, well, actually it is just as big, I take that back, is the paid search. So this would be now paying Google or paying Google AdWords Express to get traffic, which, I mean, it kind of makes logical sense as it relates to how e-commerce businesses would get more of a direct return on investment from paying for traffic than a professional services firm. But the number one traffic source of all organic searches is Google. Google has 96% of all organic searches, and the reason why I think this is important to say is because I think I hear or read a lot of headlines about other search engines or Google maybe losing their market share in terms of search, and just based on the analytics data, it's just not true. It's just everybody still searches through Google. My assumption is that the market share that Bing and Yahoo get, because Bing owns Yahoo now, is when you have like a Microsoft-based organization and their IT department comes in and installs hundreds or thousands of Microsoft computers, Dell computers that have the Microsoft operating system on them, and the default search engine is Bing, and the employees don't really know that they're searching on Bing. And I'm not trying to like downplay Bing, but that's just what the data's showing. So I think that's important because like, if you're making marketing decisions and all your time's super valuable and you need to like cut to the chase, what's working, what's not working, Google is still as important as it ever has been in the last like 15 years. This is where I get super excited because my own business posts probably 3 to 5 times a day on all the social media platforms. And the reason why we do that again is because that's what works. And so if I'm gonna go, like, if it didn't work, I wouldn't be doing it. But I can't also go out and tell everybody to do it if I'm not doing it, or if I'm not at least trying to see if it works or not. All of the 325 plus Google Analytics accounts that we analyze and aggregate data from back this up, and then my own data from Data Driven Design's social media accounts posting all the time continue to back this data up as well. So I'll break this down. I call it post frequency, so it's pretty self-explanatory, but when a brand goes from posting monthly on Facebook to 2 or more times a day, they get a 16x increase in their web traffic. So probably the most intimidating, daunting thing that I've seen business owners or marketers sort of feel in front of me is like, there's no possible way I can post on, there's just no possible way I can post on Facebook 2 or more times a day. But then I'm kind of saying, well, then there's no possible way that you can grow your business the way that you want to grow your business, because everyone's on Facebook. The data shows that. And even organically, increasing your post frequency, that's just effort. That's just grind and hustle of what are we doing? How can we tell our story? And can we put it on our Facebook page organically? No paid media at all. So also, web traffic as a referral, or social media as a referral source is up 9% from a year ago. So again, more and more of people getting to websites is through social media. When you boost a Facebook, I just got some fun facts down here too from the data. When you boost a Facebook post, it gets 3 times the reach and engagement of regular organic posts. And this is even when you boost a post for like $2. You don't have to boost a post for $20 or $200. And I know everybody's like a little bit miffed at the decrease in organic reach that Facebook posts get now versus what they used to get. But it's really just because when you're a brand posting, Facebook just wants users to be on the platform. So if all you saw as a user were organic posts from brands, we would all leave Facebook, we wouldn't use it anymore. And so they're really doing brands a favor by making us strategically pay for our reach, because it's working. When you do boost it, it does work.
Paul,
If you boost it to the same
what is
point.
boosting, in other words?
Yeah, good question.
$2, I mean, what are you doing?
So what you're doing, that's a great question. So what you're doing is, first you start by just basically saying, log into your Facebook page, which is kind of like your website, is really what it is. It's just Facebook, your Facebook page is really just a place to house your content, the same way that your website is, only you're within the restrictions of Facebook. So you can upload a photo, video, you just type in written word, whatever you want, and you can post it. A boost means you can say, when you just make a post, the only people that see it are the people that are fans or followers of your Facebook page. So if you have 500 followers, actually 1/3 of those 500 are likely to see that post. The other 2/3 probably won't even see it, based on Facebook's algorithm called EdgeRank. So the boost will allow you to go in and say exactly who you want to see that post. And what I mean by that is, you can go in and say, I want people in all of the world to see this, or I want people within a 15-mile radius of, what is this, 521 Gallatin Avenue, to see this. Or a 25-mile radius of my retail location. Or, any geographic radius. You can also set gender. You can also set, what is the most fascinating to me is interest groups and job titles. So whether you're B2B, if you're an attorney, right? Or you work for run a law firm, and then you also have, let's just play this out. So for your law firm, you could actually target job titles related to your target audience groups. For your fashion business, you can target consumer segments based on not only what products and services they're interested in, but are they moms of kids age 2 to 4 that like Mean Girls or something like that, or like a particular movie or TV show, or watch Netflix, or even better yet, the one that I always like is fans of your competitors' Facebook pages. So there's all sorts of, you can spend hours in, if you just go try to boost a post, you could literally just spend all night having fun just seeing all the different audiences you can build. And then when you put a minimum of, say, $2 behind that, Facebook will say, here's how many people in that target audience group you can expect to see this post. And then you'll get the data around that, and you get the data around how well that did. So that's boosting. You can do the same thing on Instagram. You can do the same. LinkedIn has their own version of it. It's not as good of an ad product, but.
If you wanted to do an A/B on something like that, would you use it consecutively or just ads?
It's really easy. To A/B test that, I would do an ad. Should I just talk about the difference between ads and boosts right now? Okay. Because that's a common question. So the difference between a Facebook ad and a boosted post is that for you don't see an ad on your Facebook page. So your audience is not going to see the ad. Your followers and fans are not going to see the ad. You build an audience the same way that I just kind of talked about around who's going to see that ad. An ad can last for any given period of time and actually should last longer than a boost. A boost should be I want to show this maybe for another 3 to 5 days to an expanded audience and see how that does, whereas an ad can last you 6 months of running the same ad. Another major difference on an ad is really the audience that you can run it to expands now into your Facebook tracking pixel. Your Facebook tracking pixel on your website allows you to run ads to people who have been to your website before, to people who have put particular items into a cart on your website, but not checked out, to people who have purchased particular items or viewed one particular page. And then but the main difference between, this is gonna get super geeky, but I promise I'll try to make it make sense. The main difference between a Facebook ad and a boosted post is what's called the conversion objective. So this has to do with who Facebook shows this content to. So when you run an ad, you can select what's called consideration, first it's awareness, then it's consideration, then it's conversion. And the difference is when you run an awareness-based ad, you have multiple options to show your ad to people who are likely to see the ad and interact with the ad in a positive way, and that gives you impressions and reach. So reach is how many people see the ad, impressions is how many times the ad is seen. In the middle column, in terms of consideration, that would be like, so awareness is like trying to get people into your marketing funnel. They're outside your funnel, you're trying to get them in. Consideration is now you've got them into your funnel, and now you can show ads to people who are likely to fill out a form on your website or take a particular action on your website. And that's where like it's tracking that data based on your Facebook tracking pixel. But Facebook's using its algorithm to say, these users are more likely to do what Paul wants them to do based on the fact that he chose this objective in the consideration column. So I'm going to show this ad to people more likely to take action on a website. And then the third column is the one that we all want, which is conversions. That would be downloading a mobile app, checking out on a web, purchasing a product on a website. And that's going to be where Facebook's algorithm is going to be more likely to show your ad to those folks. So this is what we get into where when you can learn, this stuff is not hard to learn. It sounds like crazy, but it's not hard to learn if you put like maybe 8 to 10 total hours in. So like 8 to 10 total hours of just learning how to do this stuff in Facebook ads. Now you can not have to pay that agency thousands of dollars a month to do this stuff for you, and you can do it the right way. So you can put those thousands of dollars a month now into your media spend, and you can run these Facebook ads in the succession of, let's build awareness. You have to assume nobody knows who you are. Even if you think people know who you are, you have to make the assumption, I've never run a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad before the right way, so I'm gonna start with awareness, and then I'm gonna expect, and awareness, say 6 to 8 months of doing that. Then I'm going to go into consideration, then I'm going to go into conversion, and after about 9 to 10 months, you start to see some actual conversions from this. And then you start to get 2, 3, 4, 5 times on your ad spend, whereas at first you're losing money. You're not losing money, but you're not getting immediate ROI off a social media ad. The ROI you're getting is awareness for your brand. And so we just went off on a whole sidebar, but hopefully it was relevant for today. And I think it's an amazing question because there's a huge difference between just boosting a post, understanding organic, boost, and then ad. So I'm happy to go further into Q&A on that too, even right now if you want. Do you have a follow-up?
I think it would be a quick answer. Just similarly on Instagram, when you have a choice to get profile or followers versus website.
Yeah.
Would you suggest the same strategy of investing in the first layer and then moving?
Yeah, for sure. Instagram is going to be a little bit different than Facebook, and I brought some special stuff for you guys on Instagram today because I think that how many of you in here like have an e-commerce site right now with like Shopify? Yeah. Everybody pretty much? Okay, cool.
Or I got my own.
Or you're your own?
Yeah.
That's fine too. And even if you don't, like to set up a Shopify store is super easy. And so what I would recommend to your question is like Instagram organic content. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done on the back end to set up a shopping feed from your store. I'll just use Shopify as an example, but you can do it with any kind of website. From a Shopify store into your Facebook ads manager, and then linking your Facebook ads manager to Instagram because they're the same. And then now on Instagram, you can tag an organic post with the shopping bag icon. And now you don't have to pay for that. You can run ads that are shopping bag ads or collection ads. But on Instagram, I would post organic first as your awareness phase. Then I would run collection ads once you get to the conversion phase. So where Facebook, you're paying for the awareness phase, Instagram, you could just go organic in the awareness phase, posting multiple times, hopefully multiple times a day. Although that's like, I get people think I'm crazy for that, but it really works.
And when it comes to that choice,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm wrong, but isn't there a choice often to like for followers or?
Yeah, you're right.
Action?
There's a
Follow that order.
yeah, it's like what do you most desire or something when they're in Instagram. But there's gonna be an option that comes out that's also gonna be related to the collection, the shopping collection when you have that set up. So First, I would post organic and not even run the ad, and I would almost skip the awareness phase on Instagram, is what I'm saying, and then go directly to spend your money in the collection stuff. Because I also think if they're opening up this ability on Instagram when you have this functionality that I was referencing, where you have your Shopify store hooked up through Facebook, which then hooks up through Instagram. You should be able to post an Instagram story also with the shopping bag icon on it. And then, so that replaces your Facebook awareness phase where you're paying for it. So if you're gonna do Instagram, which I'm all about, go all in on Instagram, but just wait to spend all your money on the collection ads. And don't spend your money on the profile visits or the website visits on Instagram. Does that make sense?
So not on the website, but when you say
On the
followers?
shopping.
No, it's directly to the product.
It'll go directly to it'll be a campaign. I'll show you, I've got some screenshots of it here in a minute. So Instagram post frequency doesn't relate as much to the web traffic. It does relate to the followers though. Because when you're using, for follower growth, if you're using 10 to 15 hashtags in a post and you're switching up, you may be keeping like a base 5 or 6, but you're switching up the others based on the content of the post, and you're posting 3, 4, 5 times a day, you're gonna grow your following more. You're gonna have some attrition, like you're gonna gain 20 but lose 15, but that's net 5 every day. You're gonna have that kind of follower growth at that post frequency. So organic, whereas that's where I was saying you can skip the awareness phase on Instagram because you're gonna do that. It might be more time. It might be the same amount of time, but it's gonna be less money. But the thing about Instagram that the data says is that the bounce rate to your website from Instagram is the best bounce rate. So to translate that, like when you compare LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the social media outlets, the users that are coming to your website and actually engaging with your content are Instagram. So if you're not on Instagram and you're thinking Instagram might not be for my business, it's actually totally wrong, because users that you can't even link, you can't even post a hyperlink on Instagram. The only 2 ways you can are in your profile, which is probably why it has the lowest bounce rate, because you have this user that, sorry, what were you gonna?
Oh, you just said link in bio? Is that
Yeah, link in bio, exactly. Link in bio is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So having a link in bio that, and referencing the link in bio, that kind of thing in your posts, exactly. And then the other way is if you're fortunate enough to have the swipe up capability in your stories. Does anyone have that?
No, I want it.
I know, it's like the most sought after thing ever. When you get the swipe up capabilities in your story, like you got to do that all day, every day, because that's, so anyone in here not familiar with Instagram stories or Facebook stories, I'm happy to kind of give that a little once over.
Yes. Don't be.
No problem,
anybody,
totally fine.
Don't need to be embarrassed at all.
Yeah, no.
We're all learning, and as soon as we learn, everything changes, so.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. We'll come back and do another thing on voice later.
Good.
Speaking of everything changing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not yet, that's for tomorrow. Stories are where, like Snapchat, their whole app is built on just basically taking an image or a video and then posting it in order of what's happening throughout your day. And then whatever image or video you posted 24 hours prior just goes away. So it's Snapchat's whole concept is like a story, where that's the only kind of content for the first few years of Snapchat that you could even post. Well, what Instagram and Facebook did was they basically just copied that and made it a feature. So Instagram used to be, until they built in stories, which is probably like 2015, I think is when they launched stories. But 2011 to 2015, Instagram was like, you had to have this really nicely curated image that you posted, maybe with a few bullet points of copy or a few words. And then people started wanting to tell more of their story on Instagram. So then it became picture with more words and some hashtags. And then when they copied stories from Snapchat and made it a feature, it allowed people to post things that weren't like perfectly curated. So you could post just behind the scenes content of your team working on stuff, or walking from point A to point B, or where you got your coffee, or just like stuff that people were posting on Snapchat. And then that just exploded the engagement of Instagram, where everyone now who's posting, all profiles that are constantly posting stuff to their story is, they're getting more followers, they're getting more engagement and more visibility. So Instagram implemented a couple different things, and it's really weird how they do it. But if you're a profile of 10,000 or more followers, you then supposedly automatically get this ability to, within your story, have the ability to have your user swipe up to then go to your website immediately. So what that allows for as a marketer, it's like a marketer's dream, because now you can have this really cool interactive story, and you can say swipe up for more information on what the heck we're talking about. Then the user swipes up and it takes you to the website, which is pretty much what everybody wants. Here's what I was talking about in terms of social media bounce rate. So the most engaged audience is from Instagram. The most frequent audience is from Facebook, and then LinkedIn's pretty close. And then for the fashion industry specifically, 70 to 80% of all traffic is mobile, which is, so earlier it was, the number was like 34.5 total. So I'll say for you guys, it's considerably higher. So the mobile traffic makes a huge, it makes up the main percentage of your web visitors. And then in terms of like what works best, design data for fashion is when you have, you can have a call to action to sign up for an email list up at the top here, taking up a small percentage. And then what's worked is like your main menu, if you have brick and mortar retail locations, like information about that right up in this space, and or if you have like a loyalty program or any kind of incentive-based program, like an icon that indicates that. And then of course, like a large featured image space to kind of showcase your products or main product. And then your headline, your first headline down here. And then a call to action button. So this is before the user swipes to scroll down. Call to action button right here to maybe go into the shop or shop more products, things like that. Google AdWords Express. I don't want to get out on too much of a tangent here, but Google AdWords Express is a low cost way to get phone call leads. So if this is for the business that you came here to think about today, or if it's for another business, you can pay Google for a product called AdWords Express. It's different than AdWords, and it allows you to do the same thing I talked about with a boosted, it's like a Facebook boosted post really, where it allows you to set a geographic radius. It allows you to kind of say what your business does or what kind of products it sells, and then select the landing page on your website that you want a user to be able to tap to go to, but it's gonna show your ad on, the data says like it's literally around 95% always showing on mobile devices. So I wanted to point that out for you guys, because if 70 to 80% of your web traffic is coming from mobile, and the most effective way to advertise on mobile and get phone call leads, that's the caveat, is it works really well for phone call leads. So if you're a business that's like needs to go directly into a website and make a purchase, it may not be the best. But if you're okay with people calling for more information about your product or come to your retail location or maybe order it through the phone or something like that, that would be a really good marketing play, because Google's gonna serve that ad 95% on mobile devices. Then they're just tapping to call. So they're making it search, tap to call. And it tracks, the platform itself tracks the data for you, so it'll tell you, here's how much you spent, here's how many phone calls it generated. And you can see the phone call data, so you can see this was from this area code at this time. It shows you like the first 6 numbers of the number, the time of the call, and the length of the call. So you can actually attribute back your sales, like manually, pretty easily to those phone calls if you want. Fashion sites that have the best content depth. So fashion sites that don't just focus on the e-commerce products, but also tell their story in like a history, timeline, blog, press kit, customer service, information about returns. Go in depth about all that stuff. There's 200% more transactions on sites that do all of that than just the sites that focus on, let's only have our best product imagery in our shop for people to see. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't focus on that, but then to have all of that other information in a main navigation item, or in the, like I talked about, a utility nav down at the bottom in the footer, even if you put it there, but it's there for people to drill into, it's gonna increase your conversion rate based on the data. That's what the data says. Fashion brands get 25% more web traffic from Instagram when they up their post frequency from daily to 2 to 3 times per day. So this is an outlier. Remember I talked about overall, websites don't get 2 to 3 more times traffic from Instagram by upping their post frequency, but fashion specific websites do. So that's key for you guys. Pinterest is still driving 5% of traffic on average, which is more than any other industry. What I call bloggers, I call them audience crossover content partners, which is like kind of I'm long-winded. That's a long-winded way of saying like people that you can build relationships with who will believe that your content is valuable to their readers and then link back to you, and you can kind of have that relationship. Those efforts will drive not only traffic to your website, but 25% more traffic in the fashion industry than in other industries. Facebook boosted posts I have as the biggest missed opportunity because many fashion brands are doing a great job of posting organically consistently, but then they're not taking the time to put the $2-3 behind the post to expand their audience to these other really interested parties. Okay, I talked about removing social icons from the header into the footer. That's kind of the main takeaway here. And Facebook remarketing ads, I'll talk a little bit about when we hit this section because I want to make sure we have enough time to hit this. So this is actually a good point to like either take a break or ask questions or anything if you guys want to.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
But we can take a break too, and I can ask it later.
Go ahead. Let's ask the question.
I know the last class that you and Emily did.
Yeah.
You looked at how to evaluate marketing partnerships like influencer or water campaigns. Mm-hmm. Any additional insight from that, or is that another class? How to choose partners and how to measure the results of those?
Yeah. Gosh, it might be another class. Yeah, no additional insights off the top of my head. It's one, and the reason why is because it's one of those things that's like very fluid. It's not cut and dry. It's not like a Facebook ad where you would, like if we were just like very black and white saying, okay, we've spent this much, here's what it's resulted in. But with an influencer campaign, it's gonna have all these other variables like what product did you send them, how much did it cost to send them the product, Are they charging you for the post? What's their reach? How did they post it? What hashtags did they use in the post? So it's super intriguing to do, and I'm all about it, but it's hard to give the answer is so long and detailed that it almost takes aggregating all of these different kinds of variables together and then coming up with something that actually makes sense to say, all right, let's group these out. So we have buckets of influencers that charged us between $5 and $500 to post it. Then we have these groups of influencers that didn't charge us anything, but we sent them a product and it cost this much. Then we have like these sub-segments of those groups that posted it X amount of times. And then we have the data around like what our sales and follower growth were at the time, like at the subsequent timing of all of this. So it's very manual and it's not as, which I'm fine with, but it's a harder thing to answer, but
important because more
super
and more influencers are charging, and even if they're not charging, it's time you're spending, right? On marketing that you could be doing something else. I have one more question.
Yeah.
Can you pay to boost someone else's post?
You can now. It's new when you make a Facebook organic post and then you go, depending on what kind of post it is and who you so I noticed this, like if I go make a post of an event recap and I tag Nashville Fashion Alliance, it'll actually now start to ask me, would you like to boost this on behalf of Nashville Fashion Alliance's page? And I can say, yes, 100% of these dollars should go over there, or 50, or like I can select the percentage to a certain extent of the dollars that would do that. So it's new within the last like 6 weeks. I just noticed it when I was in there doing something, and I didn't do it, but I thought, oh, that's interesting. So
if I sell hats, and Nicole Kidman wears my hat.
Yep.
And she tags me, then I can then boost Nicole Kidman's post? Or do I have to have Nicole Kidman's permission to do that? Or how does that work?
You can boost the post on behalf of the other business, and then there is some communication or approval process on behalf of the other business. So the other business page will get alerted.
Gotcha.
Nashville Fashion Alliance would like to boost this post, and then they have to approve it.
Okay.
And you can do it for anyone with a Facebook business page, is my understanding. It can only be a certain type of post, so I'm not sure if you can do it on an event post or not. I'd have to check on that. But yeah, you can do it now. And I'm sure that they're going to expand the capability. Over the next few months, I'm sure it'll keep changing as to what you can and can't do with it, but it's pretty interesting. So, and back to your influencer thing, like that's a huge growth mechanism for especially fashion brands. Like influencer campaigns would be tied with everything we're talking about today as like the thing to do to grow, because, but it's very time consuming in that there's one very expensive tool that I know of that you can pay. I think it's around like $3,000 a month just to have access to the tool. But it gives you, like, it aggregates all of the micro influencers. So it'll allow you to say, all right, who are people in this geographic area that have between X amount of followers and Y amount of followers that are willing to take partnerships. So, and that's kind of still in beta. Other than that, it's very much like manual process of like creating your own spreadsheet, figuring out who you think are the people to reach out to, then DMing them, right? All that stuff. But that's what you do. So is that what you're doing? What are you doing right now exactly?
I'm stalking people. Yeah.
Good for you.
That's what I'm doing.
What do you like about stalking them, and what do you not like about stalking them?
Interesting. Well, I like to see, I guess, from like a business side of it for her, the engagement that they're getting. Like for us specifically, I don't want to go for like super big influencers because I feel like there's a lot of stuff and there's not a lot of engagement within like the product that they're promoting. So for us, I kind of want to go to like lower influencers, but a lot of them are even like customers with a good feed that like aligns with our brand.
Yes, yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do right now. But it's very time intensive.
So like how many DMs are you, have you been banned for the day yet?
We haven't started DMing.
Oh, you haven't?
I'm
Okay.
just collecting this like, massive PowerPoint pretty much that I've done. Like did the engagement things and then we're eventually gonna start. Well, that's also the thing. Like how do you, what's like an like authentic way to approach them? And I think it depends on like what size they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's like letting them know that you actually looked at their stuff. So like not copying and pasting all your DMs, but being like,
different.
I would talk to them like, and I would make it conversational, like, hey, Sherry, got an idea. But you gotta be, like they're only gonna see X amount of characters before they decide if they're gonna read it or not. But like something along the lines of like, I really liked what you did in this one post.
Yeah.
And like reference the post so that they know you're actually paying attention to them.
Yeah.
And then they're far more likely to be like, oh, this is a legitimate person and not just like somebody copying and pasting or some bot that's like spamming me. So I would like pick out, you don't have to like overkill how much time you put into it, but I would like get real strategic about picking out one or two things that they do that you can point out and then, but just like get to the punchline of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So like try to put all of that up front and then you only have so many characters in a DM anyway. So like then make it, hey, like we'd love it if you emailed us at this to talk more or something like that and put your email in there.
Okay.
Or DM us back, whatever's easiest for you kind of thing.
Okay.
But I would do that, like the spreadsheet is great, but I mean, you probably know this, you could do the spreadsheet for years. Like there's no limit to, So I would almost even split up the responsibility, or if it's just you, I would split up your time and be like, I'm gonna spend X amount of hours in a week doing the spreadsheet, and I'm gonna spend X amount of hours in a week actually doing the DMing. And then that way you're like, and then you're highlighting people on the spreadsheet who you've already DM'd and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
I've done that, and I'm proud to say I've been banned for the day by Instagram of sending no more DMs. Really? And it's just like a few hours. It's not like, you can just get right back on. And, but you'll get more visibility to your, like there's other collateral benefits of doing stuff like this. Like if you're emailing someone about content that you think is relevant to their business, or if you're direct messaging them on Instagram, you're increasing visibility to your brand and your profile in the process. So it may seem like, why would I spend 10 hours a week doing this? But it's like those 10 hours, you're actually meeting people and you're getting them to come organically look at your stuff, which you never know what collateral benefits are gonna come from that too.
Isn't it also like the algorithm somehow like gets people to come to your page if you're continuously stalking all of these people? That's so weird.
I don't know, possibly.
But like, I
like that thought.
More engagement.
I'm gonna start telling myself that.
Myself.
Yeah, I do believe in creating momentum though. Like I don't know if the algorithm does this, but I do wholeheartedly believe in creating momentum. Like what you're doing is you're creating momentum for your brand.
Yeah.
And like it's not superficial to think like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna knock on doors and stuff's gonna happen. That's basically what you're doing. So I like it. I mean, and you don't know how many influencers are actually gonna post or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Van's right. Like that's definitely something that is kind of 1A and 1B to what we're talking about today. So cool. All right, I guess we'll keep rolling just in the interest of time. We did actually cover a lot of what I'm about to show you, so that's the good news. The shopping bag link in Instagram stories and posts I actually already talked about. This is kind of what it looks like when you actually, so now you don't have to imagine what I'm talking about. So this is where it's somewhat new that Instagram is saying this is going to be available to everybody regardless of how many followers you have. So if you have and it's right now it's like specifically a Facebook, like Shopify stores and BigCommerce is kind of like the main competitor to Shopify. Both of those platforms, for those of you who don't know, they're basically like ways to create an account tomorrow and all of a sudden have a store that people can, and then you just upload your products. It takes care of all of the payment gateway, the checkout, the shipping, the taxes, and all of that for you pretty much. It's great. They're, highly recommended. And then they have like a store with basically plugins, ways to add functionality to your site. One of those things, what I'm talking about is there's a Facebook one plugin. And so you buy or add the Facebook extension to your Shopify store, and then that's what gives your store the ability to have this catalog that then Facebook pulls in your products from your catalog. You can create different catalogs depending on how many products you have. Once it's connected through your Shopify and your Facebook are connected. In your Facebook Ads Manager account, which is different, but you're basically entering in, here's my Ads Manager account number into your Shopify store. Then your Ads Manager has all that product data from your Shopify store. Now on Facebook, you can run catalog ads, which are ads that have your products in them and allow the user to essentially shop and check out, for the most part, through that ad. So it's in the best interest of your brand to be doing this, because especially when you get to I would recommend doing it not until the conversion phase, because then you're wisely spending your money. But in the conversion phase, if you have the Shopify store, instead of making people come through your Shopify store to click the link especially on a mobile device, again, 70 to 80% of your guys' traffic is going to be on a mobile device. So think of the time that it takes when you're on your mobile device to click the link, have the page load, go to the store page, have all the products load, tap the product, go to the cart, check out, versus the Facebook collection ad cuts the time really in half or more of just going, here's the product in the ad, tap on it, now you're seeing it in the store, in the Shopify store. This is the Instagram version of what I just said, because there's then that one, then you need to connect your Facebook ad to your Instagram account, which is easy. Once you do that, then you have the ability to be able to put the shopping bag icon in your story, and you can tag the product that's in the story. So this is kind of what that looks like. And then here's what you were talking about earlier with the ads. So the collections ad campaigns is what I was talking about. Right now, you can see the ability to, what's your motivation is what they say. More profile visits, more website traffic, more promotion views. Well, what Instagram did was they said, for a select number of brands, we're going to create what's called collection ads. And we're going to give them the ability to, within here, see basically the ability to do what I just said on Facebook, but do it on Instagram. Now, as of last week, Instagram said for everyone, we're going to open up the ability to run a collection ad. So what I'm saying to you guys is perfect timing for us to have this, because as you're preparing for your fall e-commerce, you should be able to be doing collection ads. You might want to be running awareness stuff in the fall, so that when it comes time for the holiday season, you're in the conversion phase and you're running the collection ads on Instagram. So your question earlier, you were saying which one of these should I do in the awareness phase? I'm saying instead of an Instagram doing this, post organically more, 3 to 5 times a day with the different hashtags, and maybe DM some people about it. Just create more organic visibility, because Instagram's lending itself to that more than Facebook. Facebook ads I would do, but I would run the awareness phase ads, which I'll show you in a minute. Here's what it looks like to kind of shop through the ad. So a collection ad, this is what a collection ad on Facebook looks like now. This is what everybody's going to be able to do on Instagram. Where you see it sponsored, you can do a video or a main photo here, but then down here are all the products. So you tap the product, you go, then I had to take a different screenshot because you're tapping the product. Now you're viewing the product on the website, but you're viewing it right in the app itself. So you're within the Instagram app or the Facebook app, and you're able to check out or subscribe now off of clicking this is a $97 product. So it's a different ad. Founder already had the ability to do a, this is why I use this screenshot, because the magazine Founder is already running an Instagram collection ad. So that's what one looks like.
Well, before you could do it through Facebook Ad Manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't do
Exactly.
it through Instagram.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
that's frustrating.
Yep. Yeah, you just nailed it. That's exactly what. And so this is what that is, where you go catalog sales. So remember I talked about awareness, consideration, conversion. I'm not making it up. It's just literally what Facebook tells me to do. So awareness, consideration, conversion, and then catalog sales.
What's the difference between brand awareness and reach on awareness?
Brand awareness and reach, you're gonna get more you're gonna get more impressions for brand awareness.
Okay.
And reach, you're gonna be optimized around the number of people that will see your ad in a geographic radius. And brand awareness is gonna be more of like a frequency on that reach. So, and you'll get the data around, that'll be the main difference, is you'll get the data around that ad. So you'll get, if you run a brand awareness ad, you're gonna get more data around, you're gonna see an increase in how many impressions, and then you're gonna see like the frequency on those impressions. So the average user saw it, did they see it twice, did they see it 5 times, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So not a huge difference. I mean, really not. It's not going to be like it's not going to make or break how well your campaign goes based on which one you pick. But just, my team's had a lot of experience at doing both. And to us, it kind of matters. We typically pick brand awareness because it just gives us more, the position that most of our clients are in, the position that we're in, is more wanting to see how many times a particular the average user sees an ad as well. So I talked about the requirements and technical setup. I won't repeat this back to you, but it's good to have in the PDF that you can download after this. To be able to set this up either yourself or someone like us, we can help you with it. We're happy to help you with it. The Facebook tracking pixel, does anyone have the Facebook tracking pixel installed? And do you know if you're are you creating any audiences off of the tracking pixel or anything like that? Okay.
We have one where we like track people who have put something in their cart and then haven't purchased.
Okay.
And then we also have a lookalike audience.
Awesome. That's great. So this is like super simple to do. It's like the most valuable thing that I've ever seen. And I still have moments in my daily life where I can't believe that this exists as an advertising product. Because when I was in college, like you had to major in a particular subject and then go down a career path to be able to be like a media buyer or a communications person that would have access to the media to be able to buy this type of advertising. And even then, there's no way you would be able to advertise like this. So what this does is you put a snippet of code on your website. It now allows you to, it's now tracking all of the web visitors that are coming into your website in general. That's the first layer of it. Then the second layer is what we were just talking about. It now allows you to go into your Facebook Ads Manager account and run an ad to any of the people that have performed different actions on your website. So that itself is like a smaller audience within the community of Facebook, although it's a super qualified one. Then what you can do, where she mentioned lookalike audience, is you can use Facebook's data to say, how many people look like the people that put an item into their cart on my website? And that can go from, like, as you know, it can go from like 50 to 1.5 million, depending on, and so now all of a sudden you can run an ad to 1.5 million people who look like the 50 that put an item at the cart on your website. So you're expanding your bottom of your funnel, like in theory, and you're creating these audiences. So these are custom audiences in Facebook Ads Manager, are what these are. And you can also, so the different types that you can create is off of a customer file, which means an email list that you've generated. So it could be past customers or past people who have opted in. As long as they've consented to give you their personal information. Now we've got the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. So you've seen all this stuff probably about GDPR. And so that's just like an expectation now that on your website, you're making sure that people are consenting into giving you their personal. It's not that big of a deal, honestly. It's like there's a few things you need to do on your website to make sure that you're compliant. Then now you can use that list. You can, Facebook is now saying, check this box to agree to the fact that you have the ability to use these emails. You do because you made everybody consent on your website. Now you can upload customer files, create lookalike audiences. So this is kind of backing up the marketing funnel now. Let's say you're collecting an email list of interested customers, but you don't know if they've purchased or not yet, but it's a larger number than the amount that have purchased on your website. Creating a lookalike audience off of that you can do as well. So that's customer file. Website traffic is the one we talked about. And then installing the Facebook tracking pixel is really as simple as going into your, I realize I might be skipping some of this. Some of you might not have Facebook Ads Manager accounts. That's totally fine. Like, that's another thing that we could potentially work on offline together, is just getting you set up with a Facebook Ads Manager. Callahan can attest to the fact that like Data Driven Academy has like a whole class, like a 2.5-hour class where like 45 minutes of the class is like just getting into Ads Manager. So it's no small feat to like set up an Ads Manager account. Once you get in, then it's easy to get your Facebook tracking pixel, super easy to send it to your web developer or put it in yourself. And now you can run these different things here where you can say people who have visited specific web pages in the last 30, 60, 90 days, visitors by time spent, all sorts of stuff that you can create here. So here's creating a catalog sale ad where you're seeing, when you create a catalog sale campaign, you're selecting the products that you want in your catalog. And then you're building, you can either use a custom audience or you can build a new audience. So here's some examples of building it off of the pixel. Again, like, in what world have we ever been able to like just go in here as regular people, non-technical people, and just say, I want to have access to all these potential customers, so go ahead and run this ad and charge my credit card. Like, you would have had to buy a billboard or buy a TV spot or call somebody who has access to the publishing company that can get you in the magazine or whatever. So now to be able to do this is pretty unbelievable. You can edit your placements. So within Facebook, it's going to, by default, like show your ad everywhere in the network. Well, everywhere in the Facebook network is like not only things that look like posts, but also sidebar ads, Instagram, audience network. So if you've ever, how many of you ever run a Facebook ad? So those of you who have run a Facebook ad, have you ever then seen your ad in a mobile app? And you're like, I didn't know how did that get there? Like, who did that? Does that, like, did you have that, or did you know you were going to be running it in there? Or you kind of knew? Like, you kind of knew what it was, like, when you saw it, but did you expect to see it? So, like, that's the audience network, is like, the audience network spans into all these other places that you don't even really know. Well, if you select edit placements, you can control this. So you can go, I just want it in the Facebook feed, because that's how I'm building my ad anyway, so I want it in the Facebook feed. This is also where you can, how many of you have been through your Instagram stories and then you see a sponsored story? So this is where you can deploy the sponsored story. Have you done that? How has that worked for you?
It's actually worked really well for us to get new followers, and then because that's what we're using it for right now. It's just to get reach to specific client. So
cool.
It's been going pretty well. So
that's awesome.
Probably our best running Instagram ad for us.
That's great. So the creative's obviously a little bit different, right? Like you're doing a vertical kind of video based. That's cool. And then again, you can retarget people. You can target people who have been to your website before, lookalike audiences, different things like that. You set a daily budget, or you can set just a hard budget and set it to end at a particular time. The thing that I love about it the most as you're preparing for like the e-commerce season is you can kind of project based on the data how many people you expect to reach on a daily basis or overall. And then at some level, you can do some math around your conversion rate on your website. What's your historical conversion rate been? And pretty much project like what would be a good number to achieve off of a media spend. So that's a little bit, in my mind, more advanced, and that's something to think about up front, but like not really bog yourself down with too much. You just want to get more eyes on your brand in the first phase, and then be able to move them down the funnel to make purchases into phase 3. So one thing that's worked really well too is in the conversion phase, in the conversion phase, when you get to creating an ad, there's this this point at creating the ad where it asks you how you want to optimize the delivery of your ads. And when your pixel is installed and it's active, you can select purchase. So this is now using, I talked about using Facebook's algorithm to run ads to people who are more likely to convert, but when you define it, you have to define conversion, and when you define it as a purchase, that's where we've seen most of the best return on ad spend. So that's kind of a critical tactic, is to define it as a purchase within the Facebook Ads Manager creating an ad. So these are just screenshots of Facebook Ads Manager. My sort of extension of all of what we talked about today, if any of you are interested, again, I just kind of believe that when you can learn this stuff and do it yourself, like that's what's amazing about it. Like you don't need me or our company or any other agency. We do this kind of work, but it's actually better if we can provide the ability to facilitate you guys learning how to do it. And then when you're the experts at your brand and the experts at this, you can put all of your money into the media spend. And many businesses will punt on this whole thing because they're paying an agency thousands of dollars a month, or a contractor thousands of dollars a month, or hundreds of dollars a month, whatever it is, to manage this for them, which in theory is the right thing to do. Because if you don't know it, you want somebody who knows it managing it for you. But then it makes that much harder to get the real return on your ad spend, because now you've got to pay Facebook or Instagram or Google, and you've got your hard costs of your product. So your return on ad spend number might be 3x, but then when you do the math on that, it's like, well, I'm also paying this person to manage it for me, or this agency. I've also got my hard costs. So now what am I really making off of the Facebook or Instagram ad? So my sort of value prop on what we're doing online is this data-driven.design/members, is we've already created the content, the first bit of content within each of these buckets, but we're gonna continue to have weekly lessons online. So it's videos of me and with me and our team, also lessons and exercises of basically like how to do all of the stuff that I've been talking about, because it's a lot. I mentioned 8 to 10 hours. That's to kind of understand how to run an ad. And then this stuff changes all the time. So what we're doing is we've got like these access to these 4 different buckets within our membership. And so if you're interested in learning the rest, and continuing to learn at a really low cost for anybody on your team or anybody that you might bring onto your team. The value proposition of like learning this stuff yourself at the cost that you'll see on the website versus, you know, adding that hard cost to paying an external source to do it is really gonna, I think, make it where you can make money off of your digital advertising. So I think we wanted to do about 2 hours and we're about, believe it or not, like 20 minutes early.
We're doing great.
So we could do Q&A for the last bit of time before everybody wants to get out of here. And again, thanks for your time. Q&A on anything, like any, because.
So how is Instagram TV different from Instagram Stories?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked about IGTV. I was waiting, so I've been doing my stories, and I was frustrated by the 15 seconds of video. Because like I get why they want to limit it to 15 seconds of video, because there's a lot you can do in 15 seconds of content, and it forces you to get creative, right? And of course you can like put together your 15 seconds and make it as long as you want within your story. So I was like waiting for Instagram to just simply make the limit longer, like make it a minute within the story the same way that it's a minute within the post. And then of course it's a minute within the post. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for them to make it like 5 minutes within the post or something. Like I thought that would be the next natural progression. What they did instead was they launched this separate app that's integrated with, it's actually really well integrated with Instagram, but it's a separate app called IGTV. You have to download IGTV. And so from the publisher's perspective like us, if we download IGTV and then it immediately links it to our Instagram profile on our phone. Once we do that, we can log in to Instagram on the web-based platform. So we can go to Instagram.com, log in there, then it'll allow us, that's where you upload the video. So the way that it's different is, I can show this to you guys. This is way better. So Tanner in the back there has actually been helping me with IGTV. Because I do, let's see. So here's our Instagram. And then when you go to this IGTV tab, this is where you can upload your IGTV videos. And they want them to be, so I do this data-driven daily tip. So if you follow me at Data-Driven Design, you'll see all of this. So I used to do my data-driven daily tip, and I'd be like, hey everybody, what's up? It's your data-driven daily tip. And I'd have like 15 seconds to like cram the first part in, and then I'd add it to my story. And then I'd be like, okay, I was showing you that, and then I ran out of time, so blah, blah, blah. And I'd have like these clips, right? But then I'd want to utilize that time and put it on a different platform, because I'd also want it to go on YouTube. I'd want a version of it for LinkedIn. I'd want a version of it for Facebook, a version of it to embed into my blog. Because if I'm going to do like a 4-minute video, I want it to be on more than just Instagram. So I was doing that, adding it to my story, downloading you could save the video down. When I would upload that video to YouTube or even Facebook, you would think, because they're the same ownership group, that they would render properly, but like after the first 15 seconds, the audio would play, but then it'd be like a green screen. Anyway, the point is the video would stink because it'd be fine in the Instagram story, but that'd be the only place that it could ever live on. So IGTV is different in many regards. It's different because A, it's a separate app. B, you have to go into the web version of Instagram to upload a video. It's well integrated, so you can, when you're in Instagram, those people or profiles that you're following, you'll get a notification that they have a new IGTV video, and you'll be able to tap it directly from Instagram and see the video. I think the user experience is good of IGTV. And from a publisher standpoint, it's great that now I get to post videos up to 10 minutes long. Like I love that, because most of my videos now are 3, 4, 5 minutes long. what's weird about it is that they wanted it to be vertical video, and what most people are doing is what I'm doing now is I'm still taking the landscape style video, and I'm giving it to Tanner, who's putting it into this vertical edit. And so if you click on any of my videos, like, you're gonna see this backdrop of me, but then you're gonna just see the video is gonna be that landscape. And so most publishers are doing that because they're in the similar predicament. They don't have time to create a vertical version of it for IGTV, and then a horizontal version of it for YouTube, a horizontal version of it for, I mean, it just gets crazy. So like, unless you're a huge brand and you can have this team of people building all these different versions of your content, it's enough to just do the content in general on a consistent basis. So it's debatable what's gonna happen with IGTV, because I think like Instagram's not necessarily probably liking what publishers are using it for right now, but it's only like 3 weeks old. So what I like about it is it's an opportunity to get more eyeballs on your stuff. So I would say, like, if you're doing a video for YouTube or you're doing a video for Facebook, like, hack it. Do what I'm doing for IGTV.
Do you have a recommendation for that program to crop video?
So I was going to make 2 points real quick. If you want to display it vertically, you can find a camera with your iPhone. It's one of these cameras that shoots 4K, record it in 4K, and give it like lots of space horizontally, so that you can crop it down into a really tall vertical thing in the middle and still get all the important stuff into your video. So that would be really useful. So then you can use the same video you recorded, you'll put it on YouTube or whatever. It'll be wide, you know, maybe you have a cool background, people see that, but then when they go to the IGTV version, it's just cropped in on you. And if you use Adobe Creative Suite stuff, you can use you know, Premiere Pro to do that. That's what I use. You can use Final Cut Pro if you use that, iMovie if you have a MacBook. So kind of any video editing software. And if you just Google like how to, or like YouTube videos, that's how I've learned so much. So just like how to crop a video, and you need it in a 9:16 format. So your TV is like a 16:9 format, and then your video is just the opposite.
So what you're telling me to do is use my iPhone instead of my computer, and have it be farther away from it?
Have it, and as you crop this stuff, you can start to see like how much space you need. But if you kind of put yourself in the middle a little bit of, of the framing,
otherwise it would just be like,
then you have enough space. Yeah, right now, if I cropped his videos into that, you would see like this bit of his face, and that'd be really uncomfortable. But if the camera's a little bit further back, then you can see his face.
I'm comfortable with it.
I'm all of a sudden
Right,
regretting not
exactly.
being one of those AV people in high school.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I went all over the map on IGTV because there's like, in my brain there's so much about it, but I think it's like Instagram that has 1 billion active monthly users is what their CEO said when they launched IGTV. And like, I think what they're trying to do is like make it the next OTT platform. And so it's not going to do anything but grow. And so if you're like an early publisher of content on IGTV, it's only going to help you out. So right when it came out, I was like, all right, I got to rethink, how do I get on here? And at first I couldn't even figure out, like, I wrote a blog about like, what, you can't even post content on here. And then somebody on LinkedIn was like, actually, what you need to do is go into the web version, and then that's where you upload it. And I was like, but Instagram didn't really tell you any of that. So I just kind of figured it out through like getting it wrong, and then somebody calling me out. And then so ever since then, I've been trying to have Tanner help me with getting it formatted in that, so that I don't spend too much time on my content. But